Hi, Adobe Education community. Welcome to our weekly Adobe Creative Educator Livestream show. And happy holidays to everyone, as I know we are wrapping up 2020. And today we have some amazing guests on that I've had the pleasure of meeting in person at different conferences. So glad that we are here today virtually. But Kristen and Joe Merrill and Laura and Matt Grundler, who will introduce themselves in a moment. But welcome. And if you're just joining us, please post in the chat where you're joining us from. We're currently live on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So wherever you're joining us from in the world, please post in the chat where you're based, what you teach. We'd love to get to know a little bit more about you and connect with you in our hashtag Adobe EDU Creative community. But without further ado, I would love for our incredible guests to introduce themselves. So I'll hand it off to the Grundlers to share a little bit more about yourself.
Rock, paper, scissors. No. Hi, I'm Matt Grundler, and I have been teaching for about 16 years now. No, 17 years. Something like ranged basically everywhere from K through 5 to now middle school and 11th and 12th grade. So.
Yeah. And I'm Laura Grundler. I am currently the visual arts coordinator in our school district. So I work with K through 12 art students and K through 12 art teachers. And we are thrilled to be here today. Thanks for having us.
Awesome. And hand it off. This is like the Brady Bunch squares, right? Like hand it off to the Merrills.
I'm Kristen. I am a 4th grade teacher. I've been teaching now for 13, 14 years. I've kind of done every model I would used to say that you could do, and now I get to add like blended learning to my list. My passion's reading and writing. I love history, and I love to kind of integrate all that.
My name is Joe, and I'm currently a 1st grade / kindergarten teacher. Yeah, it's kind of a weird situation. And so I've taught for 10 years now, and most of that is in a 1st grade classroom. We did start off on the same team, which is a different conversation. It's difficult. So,
but we do teach at the same school, and we do love just kind of sharing creative ideas with each other. And we are so excited to be here to share with you guys today.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited that you're joining us. And I know, especially as we're wrapping up the school, this part of the school year, there's a lot going on. So appreciate you taking the time to share with our community. And this year has been challenging for everyone. 2020. Where do I even start, right?
Yeah.
And the holidays, I know, everyone just take a deep breath. And the holiday celebrations look a lot different this year. And, we're trying to reach students virtually. Some of us are in a blended environment, partially in person, partially virtual, or all in person. And all of us are even maybe seeing our families virtually and our students seeing their extended families virtually. So there's a lot that we're trying to take into account. But what are some creative ways that you've seen teachers celebrate the holiday in some of these new, virtual learning environments? And why don't we start with Merrills?
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
One of the ways that I've seen some really cool things come out of the holidays, I guess in the primary, is the virtual holidays around the world. I mean, holidays around the world has always been kind of like an elementary thing, and tying it into social studies into your reading content. And what's really neat is now that we're virtual is that you can really kind of open up the doors and experience those different places and kind of give your kids more background knowledge as to what those areas look like. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I've also seen a lot of teachers, especially those who are teaching virtual students, trying to make those connections, because we know it can be really lonely when you're at home all day and maybe you don't have that kind of interaction. So I've seen some activities that have kind of worked on that. Like I saw like a Christmas family feud game that one teacher did where they put some of the kids in different teams. I thought that was kind of cool. You'd learn about your kids and those kinds of things. And then I saw like the generic, kind of like a snowman glyph, but if you pick different symbols and different colors and things to learn a little bit about your kids as they're creating and doing that kind of thing, whether it's like on paper or coloring it or digitally. I've been enjoying seeing some of those activities too, because you can just really tie in and learn a little bit about them while they're apart.
Would love to hear some ideas from the secondary levels too. So from creativity department, the Grundlers.
Hold on. Oh, there you go. You're gonna let me start?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually what I've seen a lot of teachers do, and the fact that, in this confined environment that we're in now, I've actually seen a lot of teachers going more to a virtual gallery where their students are able to showcase their artwork. As we approach that portfolio area, now doing it in a digital sense where they're able to share it with a lot more people and not have to worry about crowds and about people that are building around there.
Yeah, it's a great way to celebrate the end of the semester for creative students. We've seen, so secondary is a little different than elementary. We don't celebrate the holidays quite as so much because typically we're focused on semester exams at this time. A lot of districts have waived semester exams, so that's been a really interesting thing. And I've seen that more teachers are trying to bring in more joy. They're either doing design activities or challenges with their kids. Some of the teachers I've seen are doing a lot of art history, fun things. I've even seen a few teachers come to class as characters, almost like a substitute teacher. So I've seen someone join their classroom as Bob Ross. I've seen a snowman. So just to bring more joy into the classroom and teaching, just to make their students smile and connect with them.
I love that idea. That would be so fun to have your teacher show up as Bob Ross, and I think that would make my whole day at school. And speaking, I know you mentioned portfolios too. So that's one of the ways I've been seeing teachers use Adobe Spark, of course, within the web page format. But I know all of you use Adobe Spark and have been using it for different projects. But curious, what are some of the features that you like using specifically with students? And why don't we start off with the secondary level with the Grundlers?
Well, so I started the semester substituting for middle school. It was kind of crazy. There was a lot of literally first day of school. Here I am, the coordinator, jumping in for a teacher. And I created a Spark lesson. That was how I got to know all the students. So I had them do kind of an about me page. And what I love about Spark is that it's so easy for kids to learn, really anyone to learn. So I gave them kind of the basics about what the tools were and how to use the free pictures. I love the free Adobe pictures. That's my favorite, is that you don't have to worry about copyright because they're all free from Adobe in there. And we talked about copyright and how we don't just steal things off the internet. And so I think it's a great way to just really get to know your students. And that was how I started the semester. I know Matt's used it a lot as well.
At the high school level, we were talking about non-objective, and we were having students use the icons that come on Spark, where they could use a variety of shapes and variety of line and texture to create a non-objective piece, where they could then take it further in drawing or value or painting or whatever it was that the next level was. But before that, what we were doing is we were also talking to the kids about different ways that you learn, and using, instead of trying to memorize a whole bunch of vocabulary words, we focused on the elements and principles of design and art and design. And we would have the students create, based on the definition, create their own visual. So that way they wouldn't have to keep going back and saying, oh yeah, what does this word mean? They would look at the picture that they made and instantly remember the definition, instead of having to try to memorize it all. So.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that big picture library too, because I know copyright is something that, especially as students are finding resources on the internet, struggling with, what is copyright and what is Creative Commons, especially in looking at all those pieces. But as you mentioned, yes, all the images in there are within Adobe stock, and if they're creating a web page, we have the mini bibliography, works cited at the bottom. So a really great lesson for secondary students. But when it comes to primary students, K through 5, curious, what are some of the ways that you've been using Adobe Spark?
Well, I mean, I'll use it for anything. I'll use it to I'll use it to create a book cover.
Vocabulary words.
I mean, anything. I just love how quick it is for them to pick up. I really personally love the fact that they can mix the media and they can put like the text and the images. They can add some animations. They can learn a little bit about layering and how all that works. I think by the time the age of my students, they're to that level where they can do some of that stuff. And I just love how they find ways to integrate the features that I may not even think of or know. And then I walk around, I'm like, how'd you do that? You know, I just love, it's like a complete open slate.
Yeah, I think that's really important to note is that, you know, you can't break it, right? And so letting the kids get in there and explore and create and become creative with it, it just opens up this whole new door, and, you know, it really takes things to the next level. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it saves automatically.
And it saves automatically, yeah. And there's undo buttons, so you can always go back.
For primary.
Yeah, but I would say too that, you know, some of the smaller features that people overlook, especially in primary, like for me, like when I'm teaching kindergarten and first grade, is when you go to publish, the options that are there. You know, my kids work a lot off of Seesaw, and so the ability for them to copy a link to their Adobe Spark project and put that right into Seesaw and not have to download the file, find it on their downloads, upload that. It's just so much easier to do it that way. And so, you know, I really appreciate that. And
yeah, that's so important, because we always look for programs that have that capability, because when students, whether they're just creating in the classroom or they're creating on a computer, if it just sits there, where's the meaning to that, right? We want to create this idea for students that it's sharing, and they're sharing with the world around them. And so, good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, I love that, the idea of an authentic audience too, and so that they can publish it and have that link, and it goes beyond, and then they can get feedback on that. And I know, you know, I see so many beautiful images on social media and on blogs. And sometimes it can be a little intimidating maybe to an educator or a student. Like, how do I create something like that? Like, that looks like it is very complex. But increasingly, especially with so much being virtually, you know, it's increasingly important that we have to communicate our ideas in a visually compelling way. So, you know, when it comes to templates, I've been seeing so many templates on social media channels and shared with different educators. First off, you know, what is a template? And, you know, how have you been using that? And we can start off with the primary side.
Well, a template is basically an idea that's been started, is what I tell students. It's like an idea that's kind of been started, and you get to go in and you get to add your own personal touch to it. And sometimes I use templates all the time, even for things that we do, right? Sometimes you just need to get that idea, and you just need to see what someone else has started, and then you can put your own kind of spin on it. And so that's what I tell students. Sometimes I tell them just to go browse through the templates, even if they don't want to use any of them, if they just want to get ideas or to see how things have been visually laid out.
Yeah, and I think that one of the coolest things about that is that when you assign a template to your students, they can go in there and you think they're going to do one thing, right? Like, oh, they're just going to, you know, change this around, and then they figure out how to like change colors and add text boxes and everything else. The next thing you know, it looks completely different in a good way, and you're just
flashing.
Your mind is blown, right? And so I just think that there's so much potential there. And, you know, what a great opportunity for our students, now that they are virtual for the most part, to be able to experiment and play with that and to become pros, because let's face it, they're not struggling with this at all.
Well, and I think too, it gives them a sense of confidence, because like, I am not a designer. I am married to a designer. And so often when you are put next to someone who's really good at one thing, you can feel a little inferior. And so it's really great for those students who don't see themselves as artistic to say, oh, go check it out, look it out. And then by the end, just like you said, they've completely changed it, but they had somewhere to start. And then it gives them that confidence the next time they go in, and teachers too, the next time you go in, to try it a little bit more on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all about those design guardrails being, you know, built in and having a place to start. And when it comes to the secondary level, is that something that you've also been seeing within templates? Yeah, I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Well, the Merrills nailed it. Like, it's like just the idea of creative confidence. Like, there's nothing better than being able to start from somewhere. Even all artists steal from other artists. It's a real thing. But it turns out completely different than how you started. But, you know, artists often talk about the idea of a blank canvas is very scary, even for artists. And kids do compare themselves to each other. So when you have a template, a place to start, you're not giving the kiddo a blank canvas. You're giving them something that they can transform. and it just builds that creative confidence. And then, as they said, they go in there and they find the ways to animate, or they can, integrate from their Google Drive if they have their own photos. Secondary students especially, they're on their phones all the time. They have tons of their own photos, and they figure out how to pull those in and do all kinds of different things. So it never looks like the template that you gave them originally, but it's such a great tool to use for them, because it takes away the fear and it builds up their creative confidence.
I think what, to kind of piggyback on what Laura was just saying, that with the secondary level, being the middle school and the high school level, kids are on their phones. And one of the features that I actually love, and Laura kind of showed it to me and got me excited about it, not only just using it on the desktop, but having the accessibility to do it on the spot on your phone, is really kind of fun. Because if you're in a pinch and you need to create an image real quick, you've got your pictures from your camera roll, you've got all these things you can include in right there. And it's just so nice and convenient to have that.
Yeah.
So.
And I think kids do really feel a sense of accomplishment when they've created something from a template, because they can see where they started, and then they can see the growth from what they created. It's a win-win for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And kids are constantly on the go, right? We don't, especially when we're teaching remotely, we don't know, where they'll be. So at least they have their phones and it's accessible, and they can create something, really pretty easily just with those templates getting started. Well, why don't we transition to the second part of our live stream, which is create. So going from define, create, reflect of the creative process. And I know we just launched our ultimate holiday lesson bundle, and this is perfect timing, because I know even for my own teaching, at the end of the year, you're kind of scrambling, like, what are some of the ideas that I can have to celebrate the holidays, but also really tie up the year nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, but would love to chat through some of these ideas, since I know you were, all four of you were authors on this blog post. So I'll go ahead and pull that up here and share my screen. Let's see here. Perfect. So loving this graphic to kick off the holiday season. But, kicking it off on the primary side, would love to learn a little bit more about this Spark post with student Santas. Merrills, let's kick it off.
Instantly, I think of like our social learners, the stickers and the filters, and how kids are, I think back to like other apps and that they use, and they get really into it, like layering it all. And so I just thought this is a really fun way. It's really scary when you're a teacher who doesn't use technology and you try something, and that initial leap, if it doesn't go so well, the chances that teacher is going to try again is not going to be very good. And so sometimes it's okay to start really simple. And that's why I really love this template, because you just have to add a picture. Just add a picture, change it to black and white, put their name on it, put the stickers on. And this could even be something, if you're so scared you don't want your kids to do it, like, you could do it, but so could they. Like, it's not that hard. And it's like the very basic skills, like find a picture, move text, change a font. Like, those are I would say kind of like the entry level skills as you're using an Adobe program. And plus, just look how cute. Like,
yeah, I mean, literally, you're just replacing the photo. I mean, at the end of the day, right? You can replace that photo in the back, and then your students
change
got
their
the photo
name. And I just think it's fun. And I think that's one of the things that we're noticing. Students in primary, a lot of them would try to make things or do things for their family at school to give as gifts. And we don't have that now, and we don't have a lot of those outlets that they were allowed to use. And so we're trying to come up with ways that they can make something that's heartfelt to share or give, if they don't have other, actual tangible gifts to give. And I just think something like as a parent, I would love something like that.
Yeah, and I think that, a lot of families would look at this and they might repost it on their own social media platforms, and then it'll pop up as a memory, then it's like an everlasting memory. And so we just thought it was a kind of cool spin on your normal holiday
very
photos.
Beginner level. I would love to see how people remix it, though. I'm sure they could do some fun things.
I love this. And I'd love for educators to also share on, social media channels, some of the works that their students do. Hashtag, I'll put the hashtag on here too, so people can check that out. But yes, we'd love to see some of your ideas and share them on our social media channels. So I know there's another one here as well. Speaking of templates, build your own snowman. Tell me a little bit more about this one.
This one was good. I just have to tell you guys that this one was actually tested out, and he came home the other day, and his stories of what happened with these 6-year-olds, it made my heart so happy.
Right. So we started out by reading Snowman at Night. And then we decided that we were going to build our own snowman. And we're in South Florida, so we don't have that opportunity. So this is pretty cool for my kids. And so, this is a remixable template where the kids are just dragging those icons over. And I thought, oh, they're just going to drag these icons over and they're going to call it a day, right? Well, that is definitely not what happened. They started dragging the icons over and they're like, oh, well, I can change the color of the scarf to whatever color I want. Oh, I can make that snowman text flash. Let's do that. Oh, wait, we just read the story Snowman at Night. Let me go ahead and change the whole color scheme to a darker color. I mean, it was just mind-blowing to see the different ideas they came up with. And then again, they were easily shared, and so we could share with their families. It was awesome. It was.
It was just heartwarming to see the little ones be able to do it. We hear often that the little guys can't do it or it's too hard. And I think often we don't give them a chance to try. And sometimes things are hard, and you can learn things through hard things too. But to see him come home and be like, you got to see these, look at these. He's like showing me on his phone. And, it's been a hard year. And so to see something like that, it was a nice.
Yeah. And to be clear, I did not tell them to do that. Like, I was literally like, you're just going to build the snowman and drag it from here to there. And
they took over.
It went to a different place.
Oh, I love it. And I can't wait to see some of the examples too, from educators sharing it. And I'll post this on the bottom. I love this ticker. It's like a news ticker. bit.ly/Spark Holiday Lesson Bundle. If you check that out, you can see all of these lesson ideas from both the Merrills and the Grundlers. And I'll scroll through as a sneak peek so you can see some of the other ones coming up. But I'm loving these Polaroid frames, holidays around the world, Snowman at Night, all these different Spark pages, and then also post templates. So these are all like a lot of remixable templates that you can access and check out as well. But again, encourage you to share your ideas with the hashtag Adobe EDU Creative. And we have not only from the primary side, some ideas from middle school and high school students from the Grundlers. So I'll start off with this one and would love to dive a little bit deeper into that.
So this idea came from our middle daughter. She was in a production of Frozen Junior not too long ago, and they sing this cute little song about Higa. And if you don't know what Higa is, it's from Norway, and it's this idea of cozy, all the things that make you feel warm-hearted and happy. And I was really thinking about how everybody needs more joy right now. Like, that's just 2020 has been hard, and we need this sense of joy and community, right? And so I love arts integration, where we can bring in arts and all other subject areas together, because Matt and I really feel like art connects all the dots. And so, which is what we love about Spark, because it's everything that even the Merrills are talking about is that arts integration idea. And it's just a beautiful thing, because I love the Snowman at Night, by the way, Joe, because like just the idea, like think about all the reading comprehension that those kids showed you by creating their little snowmen. Mm-hmm. How awesome is that? So back to the Higa, I did Higa and haiku because it's just a really easy way to create a poem. You kind of explore what Higa is with your students, and then you let them create their 5-syllable, 7-syllable, 5-syllable poem. And then let them create that within a Spark. And then if you want to take it a step further, you could create a gallery of your whole class's haikus and a wakelet. And it's just really a great way to continue to get to know your kids and bring some of that Higa love into your classroom.
I love that idea. And we've been partnering with Wakelet on a couple different initiatives. So exciting to see how you can use Spark and Wakelet together. Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share. I know there's a couple other ideas in here too, snowflakes and community. But I really want to touch base on these trading cards for gratitude. And I can see that being used, throughout the holiday season, for Thanksgiving and the rest of Christmas and the rest of holidays. So yeah, I would love to learn a little bit more about this.
Well, that was actually, it came from an idea, had been going around, the idea of artist trading cards. And they're, little tiny cards that are 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And, just what I did in my classroom is I had kids make them for specific people. People as we were approaching the start of Thanksgiving break, I took the last 3 days just before the break and just said, okay, think about people that you're thankful for. Make some for yourself, but also make some for other people. And as this COVID idea, the lockdown, the not being able to physically go somewhere, we thought, well, let's think about maybe changing this into a digital format where we can share it and be able to send that link out to people, but be able to use a lot of these things. And like this card that I created was all of the stuff, the stock images that were pulled from Spark's templates. I created my own template that was a 2.5 by 3.5. And then I just kind of went to town and just had fun making for someone else. And I think, that would be a great thing to send somebody, as the Merrills were saying about, sending that as a present to someone, or sending that just to say, hey, we're thinking about you. And I think we all just can continue to use that joy and share that with everybody. So.
Yeah, I love these. And I know you have some student examples as well. I'm scrolling down here. So just some more student examples of those trading cards. They're absolutely beautiful.
Some of those are the physical cards, and then some of them are the digital ones that were made in Spark. So just to kind of give more idea. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even if it's, those physical cards, can take a photo of that, share it virtually, and incorporate both elements. So absolutely love those. And I know here we have some more options for Spark. So I'm looking forward to everyone checking out that link that's below. Again, bit.ly/Spark holiday lesson bundle. On the Adobe Spark blog, you can take a look at all of these lesson ideas and try them out in your own classroom. But as with every live stream that we do here at Adobe for Education, we end with a reflection question. And so the reflection question we have for everyone tuning in is, how will you celebrate the holidays with your students virtually this year? And I know we usually have a very international group joining us, so we'd love to see, how it is around the world. What are some of the project ideas? If you take some of these templates that have been shared here today, and be sure to share them with us with the hashtag Adobe EDU Creative. But before we end our show today, first off, a huge thank you to the Merrills and the Grundlers for taking the time to be with us. I know there's so much going on during the end of 2020 before we get to the second half of the school year. But before we hop off, would love to make sure you can share either its social media accounts or websites, anything that those tuning in want to get more info or connect with you. Why don't we start off with the Merrills?
I know you're going to say it.
I am. You have to lead up to it, though.
Okay, so you guys can find us on any platform at the Merrills EDU.
2 R's, 2 L's, because there's 2 of us.
There it is, every time, the dad jokes. And we're on all sorts of different platforms. And like we said, we just share every day, try to be as authentic as we can in and out of our classrooms. And we just love to connect with educators to see what you're doing. If you ever have questions, we'd love to try and help you if we can. We just love to connect because we like to diversify our own feed and feed off all the creativity that everyone else has, because something so little that you might not think is that great, it ends up lighting a light bulb in somebody else. And so we just would love to connect on any platform and add you to our PLN.
Absolutely. And I know you have a book out too, as well. I remember that seems like a million years ago when I saw you at FETC, but I know you have a book as well, if you want to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, we have a book. It's called The Interactive Class, and it's just all about making classrooms interactive and really focusing our learning on students and their interests and their needs, and trying to get out of what schooling may have looked like for us and how we can incorporate digital and other technology into it.
Awesome. And we'll hand it off to the Grundlers.
So you can find us at Creativity Department on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. But most notably, K-12 Art Chat is the hashtag that we have out there in the world. So we host a Twitter chat on Thursday nights.
Every Thursday night, 6:30
Pacific.
No, Pacific time, and 8:30 Central time. And we also have a podcast as well.
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
K-12 Art Chat, the
The
podcast.
podcast.
It's not the most original name, but it originated from the Twitter chat.
Mhm.
So we have the guests that are on the Twitter chat on the podcast, and we interview them.
And so any platform that you get podcasts from, you can find that.
Mhm.
We have a
yeah,
so.
that's us and our crazy life.
And I know we have another K-12 Art Chat special edition coming up this Thursday.
Yes.
I'm going to share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, we're super excited because
it's
all of you are
all
going
of you,
to be
plus a few
hosting.
extras,
Yeah,
which we're really excited about.
A lot of the Adobe EDU family is going to be on the K-12 Art Chat tomorrow, well, Thursday night. And we're just super excited because it'll be a really fun time to share all the creative things that everyone's doing and putting out in the world and using to support students during this time.
Just to see how they're using the bundle that's being sent out to the world. So
yeah, we're really excited. We had one of our followers last night posted that it was a treasure trove of great ideas for this time period. And I was like, yay, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
We just want to help and support teachers. So that made my heart really happy that they were like, yes, this is exactly what I needed right now.
That's awesome. That's exactly what we're going for, even with that, visual at the top. Like, we want it to be something that educators can access and hopefully alleviates a little bit of stress at the end of the year too with some of these fun project ideas. But again, be sure to join us for K-12 Art Chat this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, 8:30 p.m. Central time. We're going to be excited to be on Twitter with all of you. And again, a special thank you to our guests. And we will be live again next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So looking forward to seeing everyone then. But in the meantime, sending lots of love and virtual hugs from the Adobe Creative Educator community, and have a wonderful rest of your week, teachers. We appreciate you and everything that you're doing to inspire creativity in your classrooms. So have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.